Resourceful Designer, episode 188. Make it about your client.
Welcome to the Resourceful Designer podcast, offering solutions to streamline your graphic and web design business so you can get back to designing. And now, your host. His current video game obsession is Elder Scrolls Online. Mark Decote.
Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know I say it all the time, but I really do appreciate the time that you take to listen to me as we discuss growing a design business. Now, in today's episode, I'm going to talk about your marketing message and how flipping the script could help you land more clients. And I'm also going to share a resource for building amazing websites. Now, what have I been up to this past week? Well, I've been plugging away, working hard, but you know what? I didn't get any new projects this week. And that actually felt really good. That meant that it gave me more time to catch up on my current projects, as well as do some personal stuff for myself. Been trying to do a little bit more on social media. I'm also taking a Facebook ad course. It's a course put on by the Digital Gal. I got this as part of a bundle. I bought a podcasting bundle thing where you pay a low price and you get tons and tons of resources. And one of the resources was this 4-week, 8-class Facebook ads course. So it's done live on Tuesdays and Fridays. And even though I've already taken a course before on Facebook ads, I thought, hey, it's part of the bundle. Let me give it a try. And I'm really, really enjoying it. So I'm learning a lot about Facebook ads, how to really target stuff in that. Now, I do know from past experience, and I've shared this on the podcast before, I had done an ad campaign for a client, and I really didn't enjoy doing it. And even though I'm learning about ads, this will be mostly for myself. I have a few side businesses that I run, one with my son and a couple of others, and I think Facebook ads would really, really help me out, so that's why I wanted to take this course. But other than that, I've continued working on a couple of client websites, started working on one of the logos for those team jerseys that I mentioned last episode. One of them gave me the go-ahead. The other one is still waiting for a few things to fall into place, but it looks like it'll go forward. So that's a fun project I'm working on. As well as updating one of my clients' websites. They won a prestigious award in their industry, and they want to showcase it on their website, so they're having me do some work there so that their accomplishment will be noticed. So those are just a few of the things I've been up to this week. Now, before I get to this week's resource, I want to remind you about the Resourceful Designer community. That's my membership community of dedicated designers who are all in there to learn and grow their design business. Now, if you want to know just how close these designers are getting and how well they're getting to know each other, actually amongst themselves are in the process of organizing a secret Santa, which is definitely something you don't see in a Facebook group. So these designers, myself included, we're all going to partake and have a little bit of fun over this holiday season doing this Secret Santa as we continue to discuss our businesses, share ideas, share critiques, and just mentor each other. Now, if you're looking for a good group of designers to be your mentors, to help you out, to give you advice, the Resourceful Designer community is for you. To find out more, visit resourcefuldesigner.com/community. And it's not too late if you want to get in on the Secret Santa. Just saying. And now, this week's resource of the week. And this week's resource, as I said, is an amazing tool for building websites, and it's Divi by Elegant Themes. Now, yes, I talk a lot about Divi on this podcast. I am a Divi user. I've been a Divi user for many, many years, since the very first version came out. Well, the reason I'm sharing it this week is because version 4 was just released. And I know I said that version 3, when it came out, it was a game changer, but version 4, even more so. So many of the features that we were lacking, it was the small things that were missing to make Divi an amazing platform. Don't get me wrong, it was great before, but there was a few minor things. Well, now they're there. Divi is no longer a page builder. It is now a theme builder. And I've been fooling around with the global headers and footers, and it is amazing what you can do. One of the drawbacks to Divi before was that there wasn't a whole lot of leeway in what the header of your website or the footer looked like. You could play a little bit with it, but generally they kind of, all Divi websites had the similar look to them. The center of the page, you can do pretty well anything, but the top and the bottom kind of had a standard look to it. Well, no more. Now that Divi is a theme editor, it allows you to customize the header. You can add all the modules, the Divi modules. So if you want to put buttons, if you want to put extra menus or whatever in your header and your footer, you can do it all now. You build the header and you build the footer the same way you would build a page. And then you make them global across the entire site. So once you make a global header, it shows up on every page on your site. Now, you do have the option of turning that off if you don't want it to show up on a certain page, but generally, a global header will show up everywhere. Now, the other thing I love about Divi 4 is just global pages overall. I never like using just the default WordPress post page. So if I'm designing a website for a client and they want to have a blog post, I like making it a little bit creative the way the page looks. And I always do that, building it with Divi. But then I have to explain to my client that here's the different sections in Divi, here's where you go in, and you can only edit this content. Don't touch these other things, because if you do, you may mess up the page. And I do provide a video to my clients showing them how to do that, but then I have to keep my fingers crossed that they don't mess something up. Well, now with Divi 4.0, they introduce global pages, which means that I can design the page to look exactly how I want, and then assign different sections from the standard WordPress post page, or page, doesn't have to be a post, from the standard things. So I can say, here is where I want the feature image to appear. Here's where I want the title to appear. Here's where I want the body to appear. And then apply that as a global page across the entire site. So now, whenever my client wants to write a blog post, they don't need to see any of the Divi. They can go to the default WordPress editor, whether they're using Gutenberg or the classic editor. They can go in there, put in the title, type up their posts, add the feature image, wherever it is to click and add the feature image, and not worry about anything else. And when they publish, the global page that I designed will automatically get all their content applied to it. So I still control what the post looks like, but now I don't have to worry that my clients may mess something up by accident by clicking on the wrong thing. So I am loving Divi 4.0. I am slowly rolling it out across my clients' websites because I don't want to just blanket update everything just in case something goes wrong. But so far, I have had absolutely no problems updating to 4.0. So if you've been on the fence about updating to Divi or giving it a try, now's the perfect time because it is no longer a page builder. The fact that it's a theme builder now, and don't let that intimidate you. It's still the same great Divi. It's just now it gives you so much more control over what you can do across the entire site and not just individual pages. Now, right now, because of the launch, Elegant Themes is offering a 10% off your purchase. I'm not sure how long that's going to last, but the link that I have is resourcefuldesigner.com/Divi4, and that's the number 4. So if you've been on the fence about using Divi, now's the perfect opportunity to try it. And now, make it about your client. I look at a lot of graphic and web designers' websites. I've mentioned it before on the podcast that anytime somebody emails me or they join the Resourceful Designer community or they join the Facebook group, I try to find out what their website is and go take a look. Sometimes I'll leave them a comment about it. Sometimes I just go look for myself. But I love looking at what other designers are doing with their website. And over the years, I have seen some amazing websites, some that made me jealous as a web designer because they were just that well done. But I've also seen some, let's say, less than stellar websites. Then again, who am I to criticize considering that I don't even have a website for my own design business? But I digress. After looking at so many graphic and web design websites, I've come to a conclusion. And that conclusion is that a lot of designers don't know how to market themselves. Now, I'm not talking about the quality of their work. Putting aside whether or not they're a good designer, whether they're good at designing, whatever their portfolio looks like. It's the messages, the wording on the website, the stuff they're putting forward for potential clients to see, their sales pitch, if you will. That's where their website is lacking. Have you ever heard the statement, the best marketing in the world can't help a bad product? Well, the same can be true of the opposite. No matter how good your product is, bad marketing can harm it. And that's what many designers that I'm looking at their website, that's what they're doing to themselves. They're doing bad marketing. Now, yes, you could argue that, well, they're designers, they're not marketers, which is true. But in most cases, At least in some of the websites I've looked at, a few minor adjustments to the marketing method would go so far in attracting more clients. So what's this trick that I'm talking about? It's simple. Stop talking about yourself and start talking about the client, especially when promoting your own services. You want to know a secret? Clients don't care about you. They don't care where you got your education. They don't care what awards you've won. They don't care what big name clients you've worked with before. And they don't care what your processes and your procedures are. What the client cares about is whether or not you can help them with their problem. Now, you've heard me and so many other people in the design space say before that as a designer, you're a problem solver. And that's all the client cares about, whether or not you have a solution to whatever problem they're currently facing. And once you accept the fact that no client ever wants to hire a designer and realize what they actually need instead, and that's someone to solve their problem, it'll become much easier for you to market to them. An entrepreneur or a business owner or whatever never wakes up in the morning and thinks to themselves, I want to hire a designer today. No, what they actually think is, I need a logo, or I need a website, or I need whatever marketing material for my new business. And in order to get that, I have to hire a designer today. It's the end product, the thing that they require, whatever it is that will help their business. That's what's important to them, not you, the designer. They don't care about you. They care about whether or not you can provide what they need. So back to the many websites that I look at, the problem I see over and over and over again is the designer not putting the client's needs first and foremost when marketing to them. How do you put the client's needs first? It all comes down to the wording in your marketing. Let me give you two hypothetical examples. I just wrote these up quick, so I didn't actually copy these from any sites, but let me give you two examples. Designer number one has this statement on the homepage of their website. Need a designer? I'm an award-winning designer with over 15 years experience, and I would love to work with you. If you would like to discuss your project, please schedule a time via my contact form. Now, as you listen to that statement, you realize it's all about the designer. There's absolutely no incentive there for the client. Sure, the client may be impressed that the designer has been working for 15 years, or maybe even that they're an award-winning designer. But really, nothing in that statement tells the client what's in it for them. All the designer did was deliver a very condensed resume for the client to contemplate. It's almost as if the designer was applying for a job position instead of being a professional business for hire. But what if you reworded it to something like this? Designer number two, their website says, do you have an idea that requires a designer? You've come to the right place. For over 15 years, I've been helping people just like you with their creative needs, and I look forward to working with you on your design project. Please let me know the best time for us to discuss your project via my contact form. Did you hear the difference? Let's dissect both statements from a client's point of view, not from the designer marketing, but from a client visiting the website, from their point of view. The opening statement, designer number one, need a designer? Designer number two, do you have an idea that requires a designer? Remember when I said that a client never needs a designer? What they need is a design created and someone who can do it for them? The design they need is always more important than the designer who creates it for them. So designer two in this case wins that opening statement because they appeal to the true needs of the client. They ask, do you have an idea that requires a designer? As opposed to designer number one who just said, need a designer? Designer number two is talking about that idea, that thing that's in the client's mind. Now let's move to the body of the message. Designer number one, I'm an award-winning designer with over 15 years experience and I would love to work with you. Designer number two, you've come to the right place. For over 15 years, I've been helping people just like you with their creative needs, and I look forward to working with you on your design project. Designer number one is talking about themselves. I'm an award-winning designer. I have over 15 years experience, and I would love to work with you. Designer number two is talking about the client. You've come to the right place. For over 15 years, I've been helping people like you with their creative needs, and I look forward to working with you on your project. It's all about the client. And then the closing statement, the contact information. Designer number 1. If you would like to discuss your project, please schedule a time via my contact form. Designer number 2, please let me know the best time for us to discuss your project via my contact form. They're almost the same thing, but designer 1, again, is all about them. They're basically saying, here are the times I'm available, pick one. Where designer number 2 is asking the client to let them know when's the most convenient time for them. It's all in the wording. Both designers may have the exact same time slots available on their calendar, but the wording used in designer 1's statement is informing the client when the designer is available. So it makes the client feel like they have to adhere to the designer's schedule. Where in the second statement, even though the calendars are identical, designer 2 is asking the client when they are available. They're saying, I would like to talk to you when you're available. Here are some options. Please choose the one that's appropriate. So again, the client now feels like they're in control, even though both designers are basically saying the same thing with that line. But designer 1 made the statement about themselves, and designer 2 made it about the client. And because of that, when you look at the overall message, a client is much more likely to respond positively to designer number 2 and hire them. And that's just one small statement, one paragraph on a homepage. Imagine if you used that same strategy of making it about the client throughout the entire website, on every single page. Instead of telling the client what you're capable of, you tell the client how you can help them, even while you're giving the same information. When looking at two different websites, a client visiting designer number 2 site would quickly start to feel like this designer gets them. This designer understands where they're coming from, understands their problems, understands what they need. And when that happens, then the client, in their mind, automatically starts thinking, I need to work with this designer. Now, isn't that the goal of your website? You built a website because you want to get clients. You want to get people to work with you. And the easiest way to do that is to tell clients what's in it for them. Stop telling clients about yourself, your skills, and your accomplishments, and start weaving those same facts into your narrative as you tell potential clients how their problem can be solved by working with you. In the end, that's all that matters. And before I end this topic, I just have a little PS, a little postscript here. Once you learn to master this technique, once you get it right on your website, you get the message that's focused on the client and not on what you are capable of, but what the client gets from working with you, then you can take that same strategy and incorporate it into the process that you use when you're building websites for your clients. So when you're putting a website for a client together and they are putting a message that's talking about them, you can explain to the client how if they reword the message to talk more about their customer, their client, the website will create much more impact, which in turn should have a much higher conversion rate. And that would just be extra proof that the client picked the right designer when they saw your website. So let me ask you, your website right now, does it talk more about you or does it talk about how you can help your clients? Let me know. Leave me a comment for this episode at resourcefuldesigner.com/episode 188. So that's it for this episode. No question of the week this week, but if you would like to submit yours, please visit resourcefuldesigner.com/feedback and submit your question, which I will gladly answer on a future episode of the podcast. In the meantime, I want to remind you about the Resourceful Designer community at resourcefuldesigner.com/community. It is truly a wonderful group of designers, very, very active in helping each other out. And if that's something you long for, then maybe the community is for you. Don't forget to have a look at Divi 4.0. You can read all about it at resourcefuldesigner.com/Divi4, and that's the number 4. So that's it for me this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate that you've stuck around till the end here. I hope you got some knowledge out of this episode, and it will make you think differently about your marketing message, and possibly even change some things which could improve your business. So until next episode, I am Mark DeCote, wishing you all the best with your graphic design business. and reminding you to stay creative.
Thanks for listening to the Resourceful Designer Podcast at resourcefuldesigner.com.